Well, it's a beautiful day here, isn't it?
I tell you, what a great excuse to get out of the office and come hang out with my buddy Shane.
20-something. Hey, I'm Shane Thompson. I'm with Kitesurfing magazine, and I'm here with Matt Aiken from North Kites and Mystic, and he's brought us some new releases for 2021, the Freeride and Wave line. What's new, Matt?
Yeah, this is a pretty exciting time. We're updating the Orbit and the Carve. So all of the Freeride style and all around twin tips get an update for the fall release. Surfboards all get updates, new control bar, updated Carve, updated Orbit.
So lots of new stuff. We've been out riding some of this stuff, and some great feedback. What's going on with what's new with the new Navigator bar?
Yeah, the Navigator bar was like absolutely a huge success for us with the launch. But of course, you don't want to, sit on your laurels, so you had to make some updates on it. Cool. So the bar returns. It's, I mean, with most of the line at this point, it's more about tweaks than, out with the old, in with the new. So the bar comes back with again the, sort of best on the market German-made SK99 lines. So really, outside of that, it's mostly just refinements. Like
this made big waves because it's a quick release, right?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so it's the one-handed style, release like this. Yeah, and the fact you can change, very quickly change to different style.
Right, because these come with, there's like four
different sizes. Yeah, so we have a surf loop, we have a sort of smaller Freeride version of this, the standard one, and then an oversized.
I noticed the surf loop had like a metal thing in there.
That's right.
With the slider bar.
For riding with like your stealth surf rope bars and that sort of thing. So this all returns with just some little refinements, like the finger's a little bit more flexible, so it's got a little bit easier and broader fit with different models of harnesses. Right. And but what a nice improvement is the landing line here now has a swivel on it. Oh yeah. Which is
Those are all things that you wouldn't notice unless you told someone.
If I didn't show it to you, you might not have noticed, but it's a nice to have. The grip's got some nice refinements. It's still asymmetrical, so if you spin your bar and you only go one way around, you're like, whoa, it feels backwards, that sort of thing. So just some really nice refinements, some improvements in the geometry and how this, how this travels through here.
Okay,
so it's just
gonna
hole
so you don't
a little wider, a little bit better geometry, that sort of thing. But fundamentally the bars it's refined, it's a little bit better. And then we also added a new size, 38 to 43 centimeters.
Is this the smallest one?
This is the smallest one, so tiny little guy. It'll be good for people who are doing unhooked freestyle. It's little, good for freestyle unhooked. And then I could see foilers on small kites liking this. It kind of settles things down a little bit.
Lines, so your kite
for sure, it'll slow things down a little bit. So yeah, super stoked on this bar and back with some nice improvements.
Nice.
Yeah.
And some new twin tips in the line this year, or updates?
Yeah, mostly updates. Some little refinements on the tip geometry, some refinements on the flex. Quite frankly, I think the graphics took a really big step up this year, and certainly, as you can see, are tying together like really nicely with the kites. Yep. So Atmos Carbon returns. Again, I think the graphics look super sick on it. Atmos Hybrid, which is basically a lower price version of the Atmos Carbon, also returning. New to this board is the Astra. It's modeled a little bit after the Prime, which has been a really successful sort of all-around entry-level board. Yeah. The Astra is made specifically for lighter weight riders. Oh, cool. So we're not saying it's not a women's board, it's not a kids board. It's for lighter weight riders. It's got a slightly more narrow stance, and again a softer flex and that sort of thing. But full performance board, just again for a little bit lighter riders.
The foot straps were so comfortable, and they require zero breaking in, like right off the bat.
I don't even think we changed the size. You just went riding. So yeah, so the foot straps had some nice little updates on them, and just again some little tweaks and the sort of stuff that evolves after the first season. Yeah. So yeah, really stoked with how all that stuff turned out.
Awesome. And some new surf shapes or revisions?
Again, refined, tweaked. Yeah. So the Charge, the full-on down the line directional shape. That actually out of all of them, that had the least changes. I mean, we're talking minor revisions and shape.
So good. Why
it's
change it, right?
Yeah, it's an epic surfboard. It's an epic performance surfboard shape. There's not a ton you're going to change to it. I mean, you'll see some clearly some new reinforcings that have gone into the board. We're not going to flip them up and poke at everything here. We're trying to do a relatively quick video, but the middle board there, the cross, has a much more exciting bottom shape and some contouring. And there's some changes. The Comp, which is the aggressive, hardcore, strapless freestyle board there, that's definitely had some more tweaks on the shape, a little different rocker line, and again the reinforcings and this sort of thing. So. Yeah.
They look really nice, clean.
Yeah,
sweet.
thanks.
So with you want to go through anything new with the carve? That was
Sure.
tweaks to the carve this year.
Yeah.
What was the main design kind of goals to like improve it?
Yeah, I mean, the carve is a super powerful down the line wave riding kite, and you know, for our launch year, we had some good success with that. I mean, I think you were.
I like the carve, especially in the smaller sizes and big waves. It sat and drifted nicely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say for both the orbit and the carve, they both definitely have had a little bit of a tweak to the overall construction of the kites, and a little bit in line with the reach that came out in the spring. Okay. So the first generation orbits and carves definitely had pretty beefy build in them. There was a lot of Dacron, you know, running along the struts, a lot of Dacron, pretty heavy build on the trailing edge as well. Okay. I mean, the kites were built super bomb proof. And, you know, there's certainly, I mean, you know, winning the King of the Air, I think we had, first, second, you know, won pretty much everything that could happen at the King of the Air. The performance speaks for itself. But, you know, absolutely, you know, we wanted to make the kites a little bit easier to fly, and part of that was taking some unnecessary weight out of them.
A little crisper, a little lighter in the air.
Yeah, so the build on the orbit and the carves a little bit closer to the Reach kite, which I mentioned came out in March, April.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun on the Reach. Very crisp and light.
Yeah, so you can see, like, there's, you know, last year's orbit would have had like a heavy Dacron tape right along the struts, and it would have had a lot heavier build along the trailing edge. So right away they took a lot of meat out of the kites, and we certainly still feel they're going to be bomb proof and everything like that. But you know, they've hit
them up and found
they lighten them out.
Performance.
Absolutely. And then on both the orbit and carve, there's definitely some tweaks to the bridles and some, you know, some reworking on the kites there. So the goal with the carve, and this was a super powerful kite, full power all the time. You know, they Pat Goodman wanted to put a little bit more deep power into the kite, and you know, and
I noticed that actually today.
It's noticeable as soon as
you can say, okay, it's definitely a little bit more than the original carve, I think.
Absolutely. So the kite's going to have a little bit more top end, and you know, I don't believe it sacrificed anything significant on the bottom end, but absolutely the kite's got more range on the top end.
It just felt a little bit more crisp and a little less kind of moving around on you when it wasn't powered up. You knew where it was, you know.
Yeah.
Which is nice for foiling, because when you're foiling light winds, you want a kite that you kind of know where it is, even when those lines aren't tense, right?
Yeah. Right.
Even I think both kites felt a little more reactive too, just crisper, especially for the orbit. A lot of big jumping kites, I find like they're a little bit more dead in your hands, and they don't turn that fast, and they don't react as quickly as you need to. But the orbit seems to be a kite that not only jumps big, but also gives you that feeling like when you snap it, it's going to come around.
Yeah. Well, and keeping in mind, I mean, the orbit is a 5-strut high aspect.
It's not going to be like
kite.
a three-strut kite.
Sure.
You know, super quick kite, but compared to other kites, because as you know, I've ridden a lot of the other big jumping kites, and I just think having that ability of a kite to have that extra reactivity, even though it is a big jumping kite, as opposed to a lock-in, slow-moving, you know, hang gliding type of jumping kite.
Right. So, you know, we have our new Reach kite is an incredible user-friendly, do everything for everybody kite, which is fantastic. Yeah. Now, when our line first launched last fall, I mean, we had this, you know, pretty core wave kite with the carve, and we had this, you know, King of the Air style, ripping, jumping, epic kite looping kite with the orbit.
Right.
And, you know, absolutely, I mean, the orbit is, as we said, you know, 5-strut, high aspect jumping kite. It is never going to be the most user-friendly kite. No. It's always going to be a little bit more technical to fly than certainly than the Reach, which is a, you know, sheet in and go, easy peasy kite. So, but having said all of that, they definitely, you know, there's definitely some efforts made, both in terms of lightening the kite and also with some tweaks on the bridle settings to make the kite a little bit more intuitive feeling, and you know, make the kite basically just an easier to fly kite. But you know, it still is what it is. This is still going to be the kite that I'm going to put the money on someone winning the King of the Air on this kite again next year. So, you know, we're not going to stray too far from what this kite does well.
I mean, nothing. Those extra struts and the shape of that kite is better for when you're super lit. Let's face it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have. If you're on a 3-strut do-it-all kite, that pushing those limits and those extra winds, just don't have the control.
Yeah, the orbit's not going to be fun to, like, if you're punting around back and forth, just staying upwind.
Yeah.
it's not going to be the kite you want to be on.
You want to be lit.
Yeah, you want to be lit riding that.
Yeah.
You know, you can go on a reach and it starts to feel better before you get lit. It already starts to feel a little more lively and moving around better, and you know, and you can throw it on different types of boards and stuff. But the Orbit still is. It's for riding powered up and boosting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting times. Anything else we want to cover on this
No.
adventure here? We had beautiful Presqu'île Beach, and what an amazing day. Everyone should get out on these new kites soon.
Right on. Well, thanks for having me today.
Thank you.
Cheers.